Hello and welcome. This is the Leader I Want, hashtag the Leader I Want, Senatorial Debates. I'm Maria Ressa. Today we are coming to you live from AMA University in Quezon City. AMA Go! This debate is brought to you by Rappler and our partners in PH Vote, Globe, 7-Eleven, DZRH, Manila Broadcasting Corporation, so you could be listening on radio, and Media ng Bayan, PTV4, and its partner, Manila Standard. In front of us today, there should be 6 candidates for senator. 2 of them are still making their way here, but please, I'm going to ask them to stand up so you can see them. For 3 Fridays this April, we will have a debate in a different school. We're now in AMA, then we'll go to the University of the Philippines in Diliman, and then the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. All in all, you will get to see the top 18 senatorial candidates in the latest surveys, and hopefully be surprised. Don't just follow surveys, ika nga, diba? Now, please welcome from your left, audience, in alphabetical order, we have independent candidate Levy Baligot. The missing podium is for independent candidate Greco Belhica. Then, followed, hopefully he'll come in and join us, followed by Aksyon candidate Lorna Kapunan, smack in the center. The empty podium to her left is nationalista candidate Susan Ople. She's coming in. Then there should be another empty podium, but we'll keep ikot here for now. This is Liberal Party candidate Jericho Petilla. You'll remember him. And our final one, the final podium, and he's still making his way. He flew in to Manila just a short while ago, is former PNP secretary, former PNP chief Samuel Pagdilao. Okay, former Justice Secretary Laila De Lima will not join us today. She was scheduled to join us because she has I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to find out. She'll instead join us on the 15th. Former MMDA Chairman Francis Tolentino just sent word this morning he couldn't attend. Now, let's move on. Looking around, these guys have been here. We've been here since 9 a.m. This is AMA University in Quezon City. These are Filipinos who want a better world. Am I right, guys? Yeah? Okay, so we want to know. It's been a very difficult campaign, and now we want to check it out. Can we pull it up? Let's keep going, let's keep going. Now, for those of you watching on cell phones, computers, you can follow Rappler's live blog where our editors summarize and they provide context. And that hashtag, it's rappler.com/phvotedebates. You can vote on the mood meter. And for our online poll, you can vote for the winner in each round. Please use the hashtag the leader I want, and post your reactions and questions on social media. Let's keep going. Now, we're moving into the first segment. For this segment, each person on stage, and it has been a grueling campaign, so thank you, candidates, for coming in. They each have 3 minutes to answer a crucial question. That question is very simple. Why are you the leader I want? I still don't know who I'm voting for. Why are you the leader we want? 3 minutes each candidate. Let's start with lawyer Levy Baligot. You have timer ready? 3 minutes.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Pagkatapos po nating matuklasan ang PDAF scam at Malampaya Fund scam, ay ipinagpatuloy ko po ang magsaliksik at natuklasan natin ang mas marami pang scam. Ang Agriculture Competitiveness Enhancement Fund scam, ang Livestock Enhancement Development Program scam, ang ginintuang masaganang ani fund scam, napakarami pa pong scam. At dahil po sa mga natuklasan nating ito, ay napilitan po tayong magsampa ng kaso laban sa isang dating presidente ng ating republika, dalawang dating Senate Presidents, isang dating Speaker of the House, mahigit 120 na congressmen at mahigit 14 na senador, kasama rin ang 5 cabinet secretaries. Bakit po kailangan nating gawin ito? Ginawa po natin ito para mabasag ang tinatawag nating sense of impunity ng mga opisyal na magnakaw. Ayaw naman po natin silang pahirapan. At kaya po ako tumatakbo ngayon, ay naniniwala ako na hindi pa kasi tapos ang trabaho. Dapat po ang mga pondong nakalaan sa mga mag-aaral, sa mga pasyente, sa mga magsasaka, sa mga senior citizens, ay dapat umabot po sa kanila. Kaya po, ang gusto ko sanang mangyari, pag nasa Senado po tayo, ay ma-abolish natin o matanggal natin yung tinatawag na pork barrel system, kasi ito ang nagbibigay ng oportunidad sa mga politiko natin na magnakaw ng pondo. Alam nyo po, sa scholarship program na lamang ng TESDA, halimbawa, maniniwala kaya kayo kung sasabihin ko na 97% ng scholarship fund ay ninanakaw? Meron po tayong katibayan dyan, no? So kailangan po talaga nating malutas ang suliranin natin sa korupsyon para mas lalong umangat ang ating bansa. Tandaan po ninyo, ang korupsyon ang hindi lamang nagdulot ng kahirapan ng ating bansa. Maaari din po na ang korupsyon ang siyang dahilan para magkawatak-watak ang ating bansa. Kaya po, maraming salamat po muli. Thank you.
Excellent with 27 seconds. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. We move to women's advocate and lawyer Lorna Capuna. You have 3 minutes.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. All of you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Marami sa atin naiinis sa gobyerno na bibwisit. Marami sa atin ayaw na ng politika. Marami sa atin ayaw nang bumoto sa eleksyon. I have been in the practice of law for 38 years. Alam ko kung ano ang kailangan natin sa Senado. Alam ko kung ano ang mga batas natin. At alam ko kung ano ang butas sa batas natin. I am running on an agenda of hope sapagkat huwag tayong mawala ng pag-asa. H in hope stands for honest government. For this country to progress, we need to clean up our government. We need a government that cares. We need a credible justice system that is inclusive regardless of your station in life. H is also for health, especially for the needy and the wanting and senior citizens like me. O in hope is for opportunity for all. I stand for defending non-discrimination regardless of what sector you belong in. Women, children, senior citizen, workers, farmers, our LGBT community, our OFWs, our fisher folks, our artists, and all the marginalized sectors. There should be no discrimination regardless of the sector you belong to. P in hope is for peace. You cannot have peace in this country, though, if you do not solve the issue of poverty. And to solve the issue of poverty, you need letter E in hope, which is employment, which is education, and really, which is care for the environment. So, many people have said, Attorney Capunan, ano naman ang pumasok sa tuktok nyo at nag-isip kayong tumakbo? Ang sinasabi ko sa lahat, pag gusto nyo ng pagbabago, maghalal ng bago. Maraming
You have
salamat
30
po.
seconds left. Keep going. 30
Sinasabi ko
seconds.
din, yung mga nagsasabing natatalo sa sweepstakes ticket, sa sweepstakes, ang tanong ko, bakit? Bumili ba kayo ng sweepstakes? Yung nagsasabing natatalo ako sa loto na yan. Bakit? Tumayaba ko? Kanya ang sinasabi kayo sa inyong lahat, kung gusto nyong manalo, bumili ng ticket. Isang ticket of hope. Ako po yun.
Thank you. Levy, I will come back and give you an additional 30 seconds in the next round because you had 30 seconds left. Now we go to, wow, fans. We go to former Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla. You have 3 minutes.
Maraming salamat, Maria. And thank you for inviting me here. Ngayon ko lang nalaman na dito sa Ama, ang dami palang gwapo at magaganda. Lalo na yung usherette ko. Una sa lahat, let me give you a little bit of background sa sarili ko. Nag-aral ako sa public school sa probinsya ng Leyte, pero sa college, pumasa sa Ateneo de Manila, naging teacher for 5 years sa Ateneo. Ewan ko kung anong pumasok sa isip ko, tumakbo bilang gobernador ng probinsya ng Leyte, nanalo sa 2004, 2007, tumakbo ulit, walang kalaban, 2010, wala uling kalaban, 2013, halos kinuha ni Presidente as Secretary of Energy. Ngayon, kung tatanungin nyo, ano ang plataforma ko? Bilang isang implementor ng batas, ang dami kong pwedeng baguhin. Education for one, health, and many others. Kaya lang, nababahala ako. Bakit? Lahat nakikipaglaban sa education. Lahat nakikipaglaban sa korupsyon. Lahat nakikipaglaban sa health. Pero merong isang importanteng bagay na walang gustong makipaglaban dahil complicated. Ito po ang enerhiya at kuryente. Lahat tayo gusto natin ng libreng edukasyon. Pag uwi mo ng bahay, magbabayad ka pa rin ng kuryente. Gusto natin lahat ipakulong yung magnanakaw sa gobyerno. Pinakulong natin, pag uwi mo sa bahay, magbabayad ka pa rin ng kuryente. Libre ang hospitalization, gumaling ka na, magbabayad ka pa rin ng kuryente. The truth of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, this country cannot move forward kung mahal ang kuryente natin. Pinakamahal sa Asia, reklamo tayo ng reklamo, nakikita nyo ang bill nyo, pero wala naman kayo magawa at bago kayo makapagreklamo, babayaran nyo. Is there a way of reducing the cost of power? There is. However, it involves legislation. Magpalit-palit tayo 10 beses ng Secretary of Energy, walang mangyayari. Bakit? Gumawa tayo ng batas 15 years ago. Mukhang ang kumikita, malalaking kumpanya, pero tayong lahat nagbabayad ng mahal. Bakit ako adamant dito? Because I'm also a businessman. I have a call center, BPO, employing 4,000 people. Ang tinuro ko, computer science din. Ang masasabi ko lang, this country cannot move forward. Walang maglo-locate na kumpanya dito kung mahal ang kuryente. Sayang ang pinag-aralan nyo, mag-OFW kayo. Pwede naman sana tayong maghila ng mga kumpanya galing sa China. Do you know that China right now, lahat ng kumpanya, Amerikano at Hapon, gustong umalis. Saan pupunta? Indonesia at saka Vietnam. Bakit? Mahal ang kuryente dito. We have a good talent. We have future graduates like you. Ang tanong ko, do we have the jobs kung mahal ang kuryente? So ang focus ko, among many others, is kuryente. And kung gusto nyong bumaba ang presyo ng kuryente, mag-usap tayo.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard the three in front of you actually focus on corruption, electricity, critical, women's rights, gender equality, they all share corruption as an issue, and OFWs, the overseas Filipino workers, which we were talking about. This stage, they told you why you should vote for them. The next one, we're going to go to a questions and answer portion, and then after that, right now, as we're talking, we're crowdsourcing questions on Facebook, on Twitter. Please send your questions with hashtag the leader I want. We're going to go back to the question and answer session right after this. This is hashtag the leader I want, the senatorial debate. Stay tuned. We'll be back. And we are back live from AMA University in Quezon City. You are watching hashtag The Leader I Want Senatorial Debates. On stage, you have Levi Baligot, Lorna Kapunan, and Jericho Petilla. We're still waiting, but Samuel Pagdilao is on his way here. He's stuck in traffic, and Toots Oples also making her way here, so they're coming in. Sam Pagdilao is at the airport. Okay, now we move on. Let's just move on to issues Q&A. This portion I like. Rappler pinpointed 6 issues for these 2016 elections. The first, corruption and governance. We all know how important that is, right? And these gentlemen and lady on stage have worked for that. Social inequality. How do we cut down corruption? How do we leave no one behind? Disasters. Number 3, disasters and climate change. How are we going to be able to live with our quickly changing world and the average of 20 typhoons every year that we have? Foreign policy. What do we do with China? What do we do with the United States, right? How will it impact you, the jobs that you're going to have? 5, OFW, overseas Filipino workers. How do we protect the 10 to 12 million Filipinos who are outside? And do you want to leave your family when you're ready to take a job? OFWs. And finally, the last one is peace and development in Mindanao, the breadbasket of the Philippines. This debate is being brought together by our partners in PH Vote. That's Globe 711, DZRH, Manila Broadcasting Corporation. You're listening on radio. Welcome to our radio listeners, and Media ng Bayan PTV4 and its partner, The Standard. For you out there watching on your cell phones, tablets, and computers, please follow our live blog. Our editors are there doing live annotation of what they say. They're doing commentary. They're doing analysis. Click on the mood that matches yours. We'll also have a live survey to choose the winner of each round. Use hashtag The Leader I Want when posting your reactions and questions on social media. Now, we go to the Q&A on issues. The candidate in the hot seat has 3 minutes to answer. Then, another candidate, there are only 3 of them, so this could be quite exciting. Another candidate can comment on what that first candidate said. They can agree, disagree, they can come up with a better proposal. They only get 1.5 minutes. And then the first candidate who I asked the question from, will get another 1:30 to answer back. What we want to do is to zoom it, to focus in, and see what these issues are made of. Let's go to Attorney Levi Baligot. You were the former legal counsel of PDAF scam whistleblower Ben Hurloy, right? Which meant that you took a position against corruption. Now, if you get elected, PDAF is the Priority Development Assistance Fund, right? If you get elected, will you use your pork? What policies would you propose to prevent massive corruption like the PDAF scam in the future?
On the first question, ma'am, on whether I will use my PDAF or not, ang gusto po ko kasi ay ma-abolish na ang pork barrel system. Kasama dyan ang mga katulad ng PDAF. Kasi ang pork barrel system ang nagbibigay ng oportunidad para manakaw ang pondo. Pangalawa, ano po ang pwede kong gawin para matapos o malunasan natin ang corruption? Yung pagsasampa ko po ng kaso laban sa napakaraming opisyal ng gobyerno ay ang purpose niyan ay para mabasag natin ang sense of impunity ng mga opisyal na ito at matanggal natin yung incentive ng corruption. The next thing that we should do is to remove the opportunity to commit graft and corruption. The opportunity is offered by the pork barrel system. And third, ito po ay mas mahaba na solusyon. We have to educate our children. We instill in them a deeper sense of patriotism, spirituality, dahil naniniwala po ako na kung mahal mo ang iyong bayan, hindi mo pagnanakawan ang bayan mo. Kung spiritual ka na tao, hindi mo pagnanakawan ang iyong bayan. Pero makikita po natin sa curriculum ngayon, sa K-12, wala na po yung emphasis sa value formation. Wala na yung pagtuturo ng spirituality at pagmamahal sa ating bansa. Kaya isa po yan na gusto kong i-advocate sa Kongreso. We reform our education system. Salamat po.
Okay, you have another. He's very succinct. Do either of you, Lorna or Ikot, would you like to rebut? Do you agree, disagree? Would you like to ask him a question?
Meron lang akong itatanong kay attorney, Kasi alam niyo naman na naging abogado ko ni Napoles at sinurrender ko siya sa Malacanang. At alam niyo rin na abogado siya ng whistleblower at merong listahan ang whistleblower na pagkaalam ko. In fact, I know that there are 5 lists. Yung list ng whistleblower, yung list ng inquirer, yung list ng NBI, yung list ng administration, ang yung list na nibigay ni Napoles kay Secretary Laila de Lima. Ang tanong ko sa iyo, Attorney Baligod, una, meron bang taga-administrasyon na nasa listahan na yan? Number 2, kung meron sa administrasyon at alam mo na ang fina-filean lang ay opposition, kagaya ng 3 senador, ano naman ang ginagawa mo para sabihin sa mga tao na kailangan din inclusive justice. Huwag silang pipili ng sinong kakasuhan nila. At number 3, bakit hindi mo sinisita si Secretary de Lima nung siya ay nag-iimbestiga na isama dyan ang mga well-known personalities, kagaya ni Secretary Abad at mga iba pa na nasa listahan ng Napoles?
Maaari ko pong
Okay, let's start. And go ahead, sir.
Maaari ko pong sagutin yung 3 katanungan sa isang tuloy-tuloy na pagsasagot po. Lahat po ng ebidensya laban sa lahat ng nakipagsabuatan kay Ginang Napoles ay isinumite po namin kay Secretary de Lima. At nakakalungkot nga po dahil pinilit nila kami na tumutok lamang sa 2007 and up to 2009. Alam niyo po, kaya po tayo nakipaghiwalay sa Department of Justice dahil pinagpipilitan natin na prosecute everybody. Yun po ang position natin dyan. Pero totoo po ang inyong obserbasyon na pinili lang ng administrasyon ang gusto nilang sampahan ng kaso. Sa parte lamang ni Ginang Napoles, 120 na congressman at 14 na senador ang nakipagsabuatan sa kanya. Ngunit ang sabi ng Department of Justice, tama na yung 3 senador at 25 na congressmen. Kaya po ang ginawa po natin ay dumiretso tayo sa Office of the Ombudsman para magsampa ng karagdagang reklamo. Sinisigurado ko po, hindi tayo ang namimili, ang administrasyon ang namimili, at pati po yung non-Napoles NGOs ay nandun na rin po ang dokumento sa Department of Justice. Pero gaya ng sabi ko, tumigil sila sa 3 senador at 25 congressmen. Pero tayo po, ipinagpatuloy natin, kasama dyan ang isang senador pa at 20...
Keep going, we'll take another 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Kasama dyan ang isang dating Senate President muli, maliban kay Senator JPE. Kasama ang 20 na congressmen na kung saan 17 ang membro ng Liberal Party, ang administrasyon. At sinampahan din natin ng kaso ang dating Presidente ng Republika, 5 cabinet secretaries, etc. So yun po ang ating ginawa.
Maraming
Thank you.
salamat. Mabuhay si Attorney Baligod.
Attorney Baligod, can I quickly follow up? First, now, we're seeing on stage now, you have Greco Belhica. Please say hello to him. Okay. Just to follow a really quick question on that one is, did you see even-handed treatment of both administration and opposition?
Well, what I saw was a selective prosecution. In fact, the administration shielded some of its allies or supporters. Just look at the 3rd batch of legislators. It took the Department of Justice 1 year and 2 months before it eventually filed the 3rd batch. Dahil din po yan sa pamimilit natin at yung pamimilit ng taong bayan na rin. Otherwise, hindi po yan na isampa.
Maraming salamat ho. Pastor Greco Belhica, he's on stage now. I'm going to throw you the question. You walked into the hot seat and you're next. So what will happen here is, I'll ask you a question. Anyone on stage can ask you further or rebut you or agree with you. They will have a minute 30, and then you will have a minute 30 to respond. Okay, so let's go. Your website actually says you're pushing for the adoption of a 10% flat tax rate across the board. So right now, everybody knows that the tax rate can go as high as 33%, right? Won't this impact government revenue, which in turn could affect delivery of services? How do you propose to address this shortfall in revenue?
Actually, that is a misconception about the flat rate tax. The flat rate tax, when applied, will increase government revenue because according to BIR today, only 5 to 6% of the population are paying the right taxes. Those are the employees because taxes are withheld from before they receive their salaries. The businessmen, on the other hand, don't pay the right taxes because of all the exemptions available in the tax code, plus corruption in BIR, which they get to pay the examiners. So if we, in turn into a flat rate tax, more people will be paying the right taxes, therefore more revenues will come to government. In fact, this is what happened to Russia in 1999 after it collapsed, the economy collapsed. It turned into a flat tax rate. On the first year, government revenue increased 30%. The second year, 50%. And the third year, 80%. Today, Russia is back to become and has become the most powerful nation all over the world. Almost no debt. So sa flat tax po, dadami ang pera ng hawak ng tao, lalaki rin ang revenue ng gobyerno. Second point, mas mahalaga na ang pera hawak ng tao kesa ng gobyerno at ginagawang pork barrel ng mga politiko. Kung merong pera ang tao, hindi natin kailangan ng libreng services, libreng ospital, libreng eskwelahan, libre nga bulok naman. We will have our own money to pay for our, to go to any school that we want. We will have money to pay for the best hospital services we want. Yun po ang ating kinakailangan. Pangatlo, pag nag-flat tax, bababa ang presyo ng bilihin dahil mawawala ang IVAT. Kung mawala ang IVAT, maybe your 1,000 pesos that buys one pair of shoes can now buy 3 to 5 pairs of shoes. Kasi lalaki ang value ng pera natin at dadami ang take-home pay natin. Kaya ang flat tax actually comes from the wisdom of the holy word of God. God only asks for 10%. Who is man to ask for more? Hindi naman siya Diyos. So maraming salamat po.
Thank you. For those of you, there's still 44 seconds, but for those of you who may not know the track record of Greco Bellica, he has filed a series of cases at the Supreme Court against PDAF, against the pork barrel.
Yeah,
Right? So
if I
that's where
can-
he's coming from. Who wants to actually rebut? Do you agree that a 10% tax rate would work? Go ahead, Nico.
Siguro
so polite.
I agree that the tax reform will have to be done. Kasi ang sabi nga ni Greco na meron nga tayong malaking taxes, 32%, wala naman nagbabayad. Regarding 10%, siguro yan kailangan pag-aralan. But I agree, kailangan tingnan natin kung ano ang tax rate natin na dapat. For example, para sa individual, 1997 ang last natin na tax reform. Pag umabot ka ng 50,000 a month, maximum tax rate na ang isasampa sa'yo. That was 1997, almost 20 years ago. Ngayon, ang 50,000, hindi na ganun kalaki ang halaga. Pero ganun pa rin ang buwis. 32% pa rin, halos 32% pa rin. So I agree that there has to be a form of tax reform. Whether it is 10% or another number, kailangan pag-aralan.
Greco, you have a minute 30 to respond.
Thank you, Secretary Petilla, and he's well versed with taxes and government, how government system works. Well, I just like to add on to, actually clarify the misconception that media was able to say. It was because of Secretary Butch Abad, nothing else. I filed against a pork barrel system, not only the PDAF, among which is the PDAF. The bigger pork barrel is not the 1% of the legislators, but the 50% pork barrel of the president. It's a presidential pork barrel from which the PDAF comes from. Ito pong pork barrel, presidential pork barrel, hanggang ngayon ay nananatili. And that is the reason I am running today. Because we are only poor in a very rich country because of corrupt politicians who wouldn't let go of their pork barrel. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to come together and change this system if we want to become a better nation. Pinahihirap po tayo dahil ng pamalaan. Yung pinaghihirapan nating pera, ginagawa nilang pork barrel nila. And if we will take this lightly and not apply the Supreme Court ruling on the Belgica case, that is to investigate all who abuse the pork barrel system, from 1991, we will be allowing the same people to remain. Therefore, we cannot expect for things to change. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. We're going to go back to that. This is fascinating to watch it. Now let's put Attorney Lorna Kapunan on the hot seat. As a lawyer who specialized in family planning and family law, do you think we need to enact more laws to protect victims of domestic abuse? The PNP reports, for example, a 500% increase in cases of violence against women in the last 16 years. Is there anything Congress can still do to improve what happens to the victims of domestic violence, promote gender equality? You have 3 minutes.
The more immediate solution there really is legislation which will create more family courts. Right now, although we have family courts have to be on certain days where criminal cases are also scheduled. Kasi sa family cases, kailangan ng fiscal to represent the state. And therefore, pag tinatawag ang kalendaryo ng korte, in number 105, yung domestic violence case, hindi naririnig na po-postpone. So that is the first solution, legislation that will add specialized family courts that will concern itself principally with domestic violence cases. Number 2, I think it is time that we look at a divorce law. Perhaps, pati si Pope Francis nga, sinabi ni Pope Francis, if the wife or the spouse is a victim of domestic violence, and the children see that there is no longer love or respect among the spouses, then he admonishes the church to make church annulments more simple. It should not go all the way to the Vatican. He says bishops in this country can authorize separation, church annulments, and it should not take more than 4 months. So perhaps we do have cases of domestic violence because there is no law here that will legally separate in a more expeditious manner couples who no longer love each other and who respect each other. Number 3, ang domestic violence law po, napakaliit po ng penalty. I think we should amend Republic Act 9262 to increase the penalties more. To increase the penalty especially for economic violence, which is really failure to give support. The reason wives, the reason mothers of children cannot leave their husbands is because they do not have the economic power to support themselves. Sabi nga ng isang kliyente ko, Attorney Kapunan, kung iiwanan ko ba ang asawa ko, kayo bang magpapakain ng mga anak ko? The question is, so the solution there is to stiffen the penalties for economic violence, which is failure to give support, so that women will feel more empowered and feel that they can leave their husbands without sacrificing the benefit and welfare of their children.
Fantastic. Thank you. Who wants to rebut? Who wants to rebut among the gentlemen on stage against... Go ahead, Levy.
Yung domestic violence po, meron na po tayong batas dyan na kung binugbog mo ang asawa mo, ay mabigat ang kaparusahan. Merong umaabot ng 12 years. Pero ang solution po ay hindi yung ipagbawal mo ang magbugbog eh. Because violence is a function of one's character. Yung economic problem ng isang pamilya hindi yun sapat na dahilan para bugbugin mo ang asawa mo. Meron din naman pong mga mag-asawa na naghihirap, pero hindi naman niya binubugbog ang asawa niya. Dahil nga po sa upbringing niya siguro. Kaya babalikan ko po yung proposal natin kanina. Sa ating curriculum ay i-emphasize natin ang value formation. We must build a strong moral character in every child para dala-dala niya yung moral character na yan paglaki niya. Salamat po.
Salamat po. Lorna, you have a minute 30.
Alam nyo, hindi lang paano ka makakaturo ng value formation sa mga anak mo. How can you teach your children what is right and wrong if the leaders that they see are all kurakot? If the leaders they see do not know the distinction between right and wrong, sasabihin mo sa anak mo, anak, bawal ang magnakaw, anak, bawal ang mangurakot, anak, bawal ang magbugbog ng asawa. Sasabihin nila, bakit? Yung tumatakbo ng presidente, 4 ang asawa. Yung isa dyan, nangungurakot, kandidatong presidente. Yung isa naman dyan, kung ano-anong sinasabi, wala namang aksyon na ginagawa. That is the leadership that you have. So tell your child, please listen to values formation. Ang sasabihin ng anak nyo, bakit? Yung mga leader ba natin may values? Bakit, tatay? Sino ba ang susundin natin? Kung ganyan ang mga leaders natin, ang talagang dapat gawin, talagang ang mga nagva-violate, ang mga abusers ng mga kababaihan, dapat ikulong lahat yan.
So for this round, we're going to take a short break, but what we talked about are taxes, corruption, violence against women, and no one challenged Lorna Kapunan on divorce. She took a firm stand on divorce. Now we're going to go back. We'll take a short break. Just remember that use hashtag the leader I want. Throw your comments, your questions, and stay tuned. We'll be back. We are back live from AMA University in Quezon City. You are watching hashtag the leader I want senatorial debates. We put this together with our partners in PH Vote, Globe 711, DZRH Manila Broadcasting Corporation, where I hope you're listening to us live, and Media ng Bayan, PTV4, and its partner, The Standard. We're also live there. We're also live on social media on each of the partners' Facebook and Twitter accounts. Rapplers pinpointed 6 issues that we believe should take center stage in 2016. Corruption and governance, and you've seen on stage so far in the first half how much corruption is a part of the way they think. Second is social inequality. How do we close the gap between the rich and the poor, between gay and straight, between the haves and the have-nots? How do we leave no one behind? Disasters and climate change, that's number 3. How do we live in our quickly changing world and help prevent disasters from getting worse? 4, foreign policy. What do we do with China, the United States, ASEAN? We are now one ASEAN, supposedly. 5, overseas Filipino workers. Will you guys want to go overseas to work? Should you have the choice? What happens to those, their parents? And then the 6th, peace and development in Mindanao, peace and governance in Mindanao. These 6 issues are the topics of the next debates and now. Now, for those watching on cell phones and computers, you can follow Rappler's live blog. Our editors are summarizing and providing context. You can vote on the mood meter and on the online poll. I would love to see. Please tell me who's winning on the online poll because we've had such interesting discussions. Use hashtag the leader I want when posting your reactions and questions on social media. Now we go back to the hot seat, and the remaining candidate on stage who hasn't been put on the hot seat, he has 3 minutes to answer. Another candidate, any of the other 3 candidates, can rebut him if they disagree with it. They will have a minute 30 to follow up, challenge, or agree with them. and then the candidate will have a minute 30 to rebut. On the hot seat now is former Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla. Go ahead, 3 minutes. Ako pala to, ako magtatanong. So, eto na. The Philippines has the highest electricity rate in Asia. You said this in your opening speech. As former energy chief, how can you as a senator help lead the Philippines away from power crisis like the one that we had in Mindanao in 2015 that you had to deal with towards clean energy and lower electricity rates?
Thank you. Tayo ang pinakamataas na kuryente sa Asia. And then we say, yes, we are. And then you complain about electricity bill. I know most of you don't pay your electricity bills. Mga parents yung ang nagbabayad. Pero ang tanong dito, tinatanggap na lang natin na mahal. Pero wala tayong ginagawa. Bakit? This is very complex. I feel that energy and kuryente and power should be a 2-semester subject in college. I'm more than happy to teach if I'm recruited by AMA. But the thing is, mahal ito because hindi natin naintindihan at meron tayong batas na pinasa. 2001, we passed the IPIRA law. Okay? If you haven't read IPIRA law, don't worry. Most people have not read. If you haven't understood, if you read them, don't worry. Sa tingin ko, pati ang nagpasa niya na mambabatas, hindi naintindihan. But the bottom line is this. Let's take the case of Mindanao. In Mindanao, 2010, nagka-brown out. Kung 2010 nagka-brown out, dapat 2005 tinayo na ang planta. Why? It takes 5 years to build a plant. 2003 dapat nagplano na. Bakit walang natayo na planta? Hindi ko alam. But we have a law. The law says, effective 2001, ang gobyerno hindi pwede magtayo ng planta. Hindi pwede magbenta ng kuryente at hindi pwede bumili. Sino ang magtatayo? Private sector. Bakit hindi nagtayo? Hindi ko na alam. Pero nagtayo sila sa kalagitnaan ng brownout. Ano ang presyo? Mahal. In other words, ginawa nating inutil ang gobyerno pagdating sa ating mga batas. Kaya I will tell you, kahit sinong presidente ang uupo, kahit sinong secretary ang ilalagay niya, ang kuryente natin magpapatuloy na mahal. Kasi ang depekto nasa batas. Transparency ang kailangan natin dito. Pero walang gustong makipaglaban sa Senado. Bakit? Ang hirap i-articulate ng kuryente, ng energy. Kahit sa mga kumakandidato ngayon, iniiwasan ang kuryente. But I tell you again, we cannot move forward. Pwede tayong umasenso hanggang dyan lang. Beyond that, wala na. Bakit? Mahal ang kuryente dito. Kahit wala ka ng korupsyon, kahit libre na lahat, hindi tayo aasenso kapag ang kuryente natin mahal. Walang pupunta sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. Ngayon, ang expertise ko, being a secretary for 2.5 years, is really on the field of energy. Nakita ko na. In fact, bumaba na ang presyo ng kuryente. Ikumpara nyo sa 2012 tsaka 2015, yung umalis ako. Pumasok ko 2012. Mas mababa ngayon, huwag kayong maniwala sa akin, kunin nyo yung electricity bill nyo. Pwede pa itong bumaba. But then again, nobody is willing to fight this war. Lalo na't malalaking kumpanya ang kalaban.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Lorna, rebut. A minute 30.
Secretary Petilla, ikaw yung Secretary of Energy. Kung sinasabi mo na ang depekto ay nasa batas, anong rekomendasyon ang ginawa natin sa daang matuwid na presidente mo para baguhin ang batas na yan? Pangalawa, tama yung sinasabi mo na tayong pinakamahal kasi dito lang sa bansa natin na ang public utilities ay privatize. Kasi sa ibang bansa, pag public utilities, nasa kamay ng gobyerno yan. Because public utilities should be for social benefit, not for profit. Ang nangyari, kanya kasi bulok ang administrasyon natin. Mula pa nung panahon ni Mahoma, yung public utilities na transportation, communication, lahat po na yan, ginawang private. At sa privatization na yan, yung mga 38 families, lang ang yumayaman sapagkat sila po ang nagko-control ng malalaking industriya na yan. Yung ipiralo na yan dapat i-abolish. Anong sagot natin dyan, Secretary Petilla?
Maraming salamat, Attorney Kapunan. Meron tayong ginawang mga recommendation. Recommendation yan, pupunta sa Kongreso. Hindi naman kayang ipaglaban doon kasi ang hirap intindihin ito. Masyadong technical. Pagpunta naman sa Senado, walang gustong humawak kasi komplikado din. Yun nga ang problema dito siguro, Attorney Kapunan, masyadong komplikado ang ipira at mukhang sinadyang komplikado para walang gustong magbago at walang gustong lumaban. So, ang sa atin ito is, hindi ko naman ibabasura kasi wala tayong pampalit, pero kung hindi, i-review at i-amend. Halimbawa, kagaya ng sinabi mo, ang Meralco, ang may-ari, pribadong sektor. Kukuha sa isang planta na pribadong sektor. At dito sa Pilipinas, only in the Philippines, si Meralco pwedeng magmay-ari ng planta. Kung ano man ang kuha niyang presyo galing sa isang planta, pasa sa inyong lahat. Yan po ang batas natin. So kailangan baguhin din yan. Pero sabi ko nga, napaka-komplikado. Pagdating sa Senado, walang gustong makipagbugbugan. Kung tayo'y suswertihin, lahat hawak ko ito kung paano gagawin natin. Makakakumbinsi rin ako at meron akong, lalo na't meron akong 3 kasama sa Senado na naniniwala din dito sa akin. So, yun lang po. Baguhin natin ang batas natin. Hindi kaya ng isang recommendation lang ito. Congress, Senate will have to fight it out. At malalaking pera ang nakasalalay dito. Matinding laban po ito.
Maraming salamat ho. Okay. So we have a little bit of time. Oh, go ahead, Levy. Go if you want to rebut. Give him a minute 30.
Yes. Senator Petilla, nabasa ko po yung EPIRA law at malinaw ang sinasabi ng EPIRA law. At ito ay pinapaboran ang mga industry players. Walang kalugi-lugi po ang mga industry players. Yung system lost recovery, stranded cost, missionary cost, lahat na lang pinapasa sa consumers. Ngayon po, sabi nyo kanina, nagbigay kayo ng rekomendasyon sa ating Pangulo para mabago ang EPIRA law. Ano po yung mga rekomendasyon po na ito na hindi sinang-ayunan o hindi itinulak ng ating presidente?
Hindi po ang presidente ang hindi tumulak. Hindi ang presidente. Kung hindi, pagdating sa Kongreso, doon pa lang, sa labanan pa lang, wala nang nakakaintindi. Okay, doon pa lang, medyo umaatras na. Hindi na nga ito umabot sa Senado. Bakit? Sa Senado, walang pakialam sila dito. Bakit? Hindi ko alam. Baka malalaki ang perang umiikot at walang gustong makipaglaban. Sa Kongreso naman, merong mag-articulate, pero meron ding lalaban. Actually, lahat ito, marami ito hindi lang ito isa. Masyadong technical. Pero pagdating na sa committee level, talaga lahat, pag may nag-question lang na isang magaling, wala na. Sa pool na kaagad, patay na kaagad. Kailangan natin ang lalaban talaga dito. Yung hindi magpapahinga, yung hindi matatakot, yung hindi magpapabili.
Thank you. Well, you still have 38 seconds. Anything else?
Well, siguro idadagdag ko lang ng konti dito. Wala po akong interest dito. Okay, I've been a governor, I'm in the private sector. Naawa lang ako. Bakit? Magra-graduate kayong lahat. Hindi ko alam kung may trabaho kayo. Mag-OFW kayo kasi walang trabaho dito. We can still put jobs into this country. These are all long-term. Ang presidente is weather-weather. Ang Secretary of Energy is weather-weather. What we need are permanent measures. Isa batas natin para hindi na tayo nagdidebate dito pagdating sa kuryente.
Thank you.
Maria?
Fantastic. Okay, we have a little bit of time. I'm going to actually give you, Greco, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to tell us, you missed the first part, 3 minutes to tell us why you are the leader I want. Let's start the clock. Ready? 3 minutes.
Well, maybe I can start with what I have done. In 2013, I said, if I win as senator, I will abolish the PDAF and convert it to tuition vouchers for all students for any schools. Number 2, I will convert all pork barrels to capital for every entrepreneurs who want to do and go into business. Now, I didn't win in 2013, but I was able to abolish the PDAF and the pork barrel through the Supreme Court. Why am I doing this? Things must change, and things can change on May if we will be able to change the leaders in our government. Mahirap tayo dahil sa mga corrupt na politikong ayaw bitawan ng kanilang pork barrel. 3.02 trillion pesos ang pondo ngayon ng Pilipinas. Lahat po yan hahawakan ng gobyerno lamang. Wala po tayong parte dyan, maliban tayo nag-contribute dyan. 3.02 trillion for 100 million Filipinos mean that even if you give 30,000 pesos to every Filipinos kasama ang sanggol, meron pa ring 2 milyong pisong hawak na sobra ang gobyerno. That's how much money there is here in the Philippines. And by the time President Aquino ends, he would have spent almost 12 trillion pesos. Now compare this to the 400 billion pesos that President Marcos used for 20 years and compare the super highways and the developments he has created. You will measure how big corruption has gone in the Philippines from the Marcos regime. I'm not promoting Marcos, I'm stating facts. There are more corrupt officials now than there were before. And it is because of the pork barrel system. Now the Supreme Court gave us an opportunity to change things. When it ruled out the pork barrel system in all its entirety and name unconstitutional, and it directed every prosecutorial organs of government to investigate and accordingly prosecute all who abused the pork barrel system in 1991. Kung gusto po nating magbago, uunahin nating alisin yung mga taong magnanakaw. Iimbestigahan natin kung sino nagmalabis, paano nila ginawa para hindi na maulit. Ang aking tanong mga kababayan, paano mag-iimbestiga kung ang taong dapat imbestigahan? Kung humawak ka ng pork barrel at PDAP, hindi mo iimbestigahan yan dahil mapapahamak ka. Maliban maglagay tayo ng mga taong hindi nakialam dyan at hindi humawak dyan, hindi natin mapapaimbestigahan yan. Kung ako magiging senador, wala pong matitira dyan, iimbestigahan natin lahat yan.
Does any candidate on the stage want to rebut this? Because we still have some time. Would you like to? Oh, I'm told it's not up for rebuttal because this is your statement. All right, so what we'll do is, this is fascinating. Some fascinating, very different proposals on energy, divorce, tax, PDAF, and a lot more. Hopefully, stay with us. Use hashtag #TheLeaderIWant when posting your reactions and questions on social media. We're going to be right back for the crowdsourced questions. These are questions you sent in for our candidates. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. We are live from AMA University in Quezon City. You are watching #TheLeaderIWant Senatorial Debates. I'm Maria Ressa. We're putting this debate together with our partners in #PHVote. That's Globe 711, DZRH Manila Broadcasting Corporation. I hope you're listening on radio, and Media ng Bayan, PTV4, and its partner, The Standard. Now, we want to go to the questions you've sent us online. And look at that, we're going online first before we go to the people here, right? So the last gap is going to be your questions, so don't worry, you can formulate them. Now here are the crowdsourced questions submitted on Rappler. These are the questions which were actually voted up, right? So we not only asked the community for questions, we asked them which ones do they want to be asked. And here we go. Social media for Philippine Senatorial candidate Levy Baligod. What changes in the school curriculum would you push? You talked about values formation. So, how will you change that? You talked about education. I think people want to know how. This is from @MariusAragon on Twitter.
Sa ngayon po kasi, pag titingnan nyo yung K-12 curriculum, nag-integrate lang sila ng ilang mga values subjects, no? Hindi naman nila ginawang separate subject ang value formation gaya ng patriotism, good moral character, etc. Alam niyo po sa Japan, halimbawa, grade 1 to grade 5 sa Japan, wala silang tinuturong science, math, o language. Lahat yan ay values formation muna. Paano maging mabuting tao, paano gumalang sa nakakatanda, paano mo mahalin ang iyong bansa, paano ka maging karapat-dapat na mamamayan. Yun po ang tinuturo muna nila. Pero sa atin po ngayon, wala na yan eh. Kaya ibalik po natin yung emphasis sa values formation kahit from kinder to grade 4 lamang sana. Ngayon po, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, parang nagbibigay lang sila ng palaman or icing sa curriculum para masabi lamang na meron ding values formation. Thank you.
Salamat ho, Attorney Baligot. So, ako ho, ngayon, meron akong follow-up question. So, you get a crowdsourced question, then I can follow up with it on this round. The follow-up question actually connects to, you talked about values formation, how you're going to do it in school. Lorna brought up that, well, how can we change values if what they're mirroring is so radically different from it? How do you take what she just said, which is, can you change values if the reality is so different from what you're trying to say? And then I'm going to extend that to something you know personally, which is this witness protection program. When someone actually tried to do the right thing, is it possible to do the right thing in the Philippines right now?
Opo, kung halimbawa na lang, nag-offer si Mrs. Napoles ng 300 million sa amin. Hindi namin tinanggap. Ang gusto lamang ni Mrs. Napoles ay i-atras namin ang mga kaso. So, even if it was perfectly all right for us to receive the offer because we are not government officials, tinanggihan po namin. Bakit po? Because I can claim that we have that strength of moral character. Yung sinasabi nyo kanina tungkol sa Witness Protection Program, I was invited in the Senate before, in the committee of Senator Coco Pimentel, asking for my opinion on how best we can protect state witnesses. Ang sabi ko po sa Senate committee na po na yon ay kailangang bumalik kaagad ang witness sa normal life niya. Tingnan niyo po ngayon ang nangyayari sa witnesses natin. Habang hindi natatapos ang kaso, nandyan sila na parang nakakulong. What I proposed was a minor amendment in the rules on discovery in our rules of court such that a whistleblower can already provide his testimony with the right to cross-examination by potential parties na pwedeng maging respondents and use the testimony in all courts na hindi na kailangang mag-appear pa yung witness.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, thank you. Do I ask Attorney Baligot or do I move on? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, let's go to Pastor Grego. Pastor Belica. Here's the question that you have. Let's keep going down. You have to keep going down. We're looking at the questions and the way they've been voted up. Sige, to the top, please. To the top of that one. If given the chance, this is for you from social media, after they've read your profile and they've seen what you do, right? So if given the chance, which previously removed PICO security features would you restore to prevent election fraud? And this is from, again, at Marius Aragon on Twitter.
Meron na po tayong batas at malinaw sa batas kung anong security features yung dapat naririyan. 4 yan. The source code review, isang tunay na source code review. Yung verified voters audit trail or yung resibo. Yung digital signature at saka po yung ultraviolet light. Na lahat po yan inalis ng COMELEC noong 2010, 2013 at kung hindi pa kami nanalo para sa bayan natin sa kaso sa Supreme Court, hindi nila ilalabas ang resibo. Pag wala kang resibo, wala tayong way na ma-confirm kung whether yung pinadala nilang data, yun ang ating ipinasok na boto. Kaya hindi nabilang ang boto ng tama. Ang una ko pong aalisin, kung gusto talaga natin maayos ang electoral process, yung COMELEC itself. Dahil sila ang nagmamanipulate at nandadaya ng eleksyon. Whether you make it manual or automated, pag mandaraya ang mga tao na nagpapalakad nito, wala ho tayong eleksyong pag-uusapan. Only to restore. And these are features already available in both the PICOS machine and the VCM, which is practically the same machine. Different lang ang pangalan. These security features are already embedded in place and there in the PICOS machine. The first question is, why did you remove it in the first place when the law requires it? Other than you have motive and intention to cheat the election. Yun ang unang tanongin. Pangalawa, why have not you answered the 164,000 PICOS audit logs that we have presented to you 5 years ago? Every year we present to you. We gave it to the COMELEC, to the Supreme Court, to the Ombudsman, to Congress, to people. They have not answered how come the votes that was transferred or the vote that was sent to the server was not actually what the voters inputted in the database. They have not answered that to this day. Only to prove na talagang malinis ang eleksyon. At kung talagang malinis ang intensyon ninyo sa eleksyon, bakit ayaw nyong ibalik yung sinabi ng batas? If they can rob our money and they will rob our votes, they will rob our future. Wala na ho lahat ng eleksyon na to. Kung hindi natin, the minimum security feature na dapat nating hingin, na minamanipulate pa rin nila, inaalis nila sa source code, knowing that matatalo sila sa Supreme Court yung resibo. Pero mga kaibigan, pag walang resibong maayos, wala tayong botong bibilanging maayos.
There are several other crowdsourced questions for you, but I want to follow up on this one, which is, these election campaigns are grueling for all of you, and you're coming at it hopefully with the idea that you think it's possible to stop the cheating, right? It's possible to stop the cheating. Part of the joke among candidates always is, even if you get the votes, how can you make sure they're counted? As being a pastor, somebody who seems to stand out from the system, how are you going to protect any votes that you get now? What things should we be watching out for?
The only way to protect the votes is to make sure that the security features prescribed by law is restored. That is the only way, no other way. We already won our case in the Supreme Court. Resibo na nga lang ang pinag-uusapan, ayaw pa rin nilang iayos. Knowing that they will lose the election, tinanggal nila sa source code yung ibang features na pati yung date, yung time at yung presinto kung saan mo makikita para yung binoto, naroon. Now, how do we secure our vote? There's no way to secure our vote. Maliban i-restore yung security features. Probably the only way to secure our votes is to change the commissioners running the show.
I will send you a few more questions on social media later on, but we're going to move on. Do I move on? So we'll move on. There's an interesting question here about traditional politician. We'll give it to you, and then perhaps you can answer it on social media. For Attorney Kapunan, you answered this. What is your stand on divorce and the reimposition of death penalty from @Chervalen?
I've already stated my position on divorce, and this is the position of most of our women in this country. Kaya lang po, sa family code po natin, ang definition po ng marriage is, it is a permanent union. Ang ibig sabihin ng permanent union, walang divorce dito sa Pilipinas. Kung ayaw mo na ng asawa mo, lasunin mo na lang yung kape ng asawa mo. And so, kailangan magkaroon ng batas at konsultasyon muna sa mga kababaihan kung talagang gusto nila ang divorce. Nagulat ako nang tinanong kayo dito kayong mga kabataan, kung gusto niyang divorce, ang nagtaas lang ng kamay, 5 lang ata. So siguro kailangan po natin ng mas maraming konsultasyon kung talagang gusto ng karamihan ang divorce. Secondly, sa death penalty, hindi po ako sang-ayon sa death penalty. Bakit? Sapagkat kung hindi natin linisin ang justice system natin, kung nabibili ang hustisya, kung nabibili ang korte, kung pwede kang mag-bribe, magbigay ng pera para matalo ang kaso mo at manalo ka, hindi po fair ang justice system natin. Hindi tayo sigurado nang yun talagang dapat ikulong ay nakukulong. Baka yung mga nakukulong lang ay yung mga hindi nakakabayad ng tama para bilhin ng desisyon. So to have a death penalty, we must be morally certain that we have a justice system that works, that hears the evidence and evaluates the evidence before it gives verdict, that will really set free the innocent and put to jail the guilty. Ang justice system rin po natin, hindi lang bilibid, hindi lang penitentiary. Ang justice system natin also includes rehabilitation of offenders. Dapat tignan natin, sabi nila, ang mga offenders natin, lalo na sa mga drugs, mga minors. Hindi po offenders, hindi po kriminal ang minors. Sila po ay victim. So our justice system must also reassess the system of rehabilitating the victims of the system itself. And therefore, I am against the death penalty for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Interesting. My follow-up question to you is on divorce. It's a two-part question. Were you surprised that all the presidential candidates, including the one, Grace Poe, did not support divorce? And then the second part of that question is, where do you draw the line between telling the voters what they want to hear so you can get elected and standing by what you believe? How do you make tansya? How do you do that?
I think any candidate who claims they know what the people want is a liar. As I go around this country, I am finding out that the best way to win the hearts of people really is to listen. And that's why, pag umiikot po kami sa partido, galing at puso, hindi po namin sinasabi ito ang kailangan ninyo. Ang sinasabi po namin sa kampanya namin, kasama ng aking Presidenting Grace at Vice President Cheese, tinatanong namin sa mga kinakausap namin, ano ba talaga ang kailangan ninyo? Hindi namin sinasabing bibigyan namin kayo ng libreng edukasyon. Kung hindi naman nila kailangan ng edukasyon, kung tama naman ang kanilang public school system, hindi namin sinasabing bibigyan namin kayo ng increase sa sweldo. Kung wala naman talagang trabaho at walang sweldo, so to me, the best way of campaigning really is to listen and not to dictate to the people what they want. Only then. And I think that should be the standard of what a good candidate is. A good candidate will tell you not what you want to hear. A good candidate will listen to what you want them to do for you.
Thank you. Now we go to Jericho Padilla. I would love to do another follow-up, but they will stop me. Jericho Padilla, Ikot. Climate advocates tell Rappler, and let's pull it up. This one is from social media, from Facebook, I believe. And I think it came out of one of our stories. Climate advocates tell Rappler that coal generates about 42% of the Philippines' energy supply, but recent government approvals increase that to 70%, up to 70% in a decade. And what's interesting here is that's the opposite of what the government pledged at COP21 in Paris last year. So while we pledged to bring down our greenhouse gases 70%, the other arm of government was actually giving approvals to coal plants that could bring it up 70%. What would you do? What needs to be done to minimize the country's dependence on coal and fossil fuels? What would you do?
First of all, siguro, kailangan malaman ng tao because we all want renewable, we don't want coal, but we also want cheap electricity. Let me tell you about the prices. Kasi maraming hindi alam kung magkano yung presyo to generate electricity. Let me start with light diesel. Diesel, 14 pesos. Bunker fuel, 10 pesos. Solar, 9 pesos. Wind, 8 pesos. Biomass, 7 pesos. Hydro, 6 pesos. Malampaya gas, not Malampaya fund, 5 pesos. Geothermal, 4.50. Coal, under 4 pesos. And then Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, I have to point out Bataan, is 250. Now, we want renewable. But at the same time, ayaw natin ang mahal. Take note, solar is 9 pesos as opposed to coal. Okay, will we have development in this country kung puro tayo solar? Paano kung walang araw? Paano kung walang hangin? So, what we need is a good mix. Hindi natin pwedeng itapon ang isang resource. What we need is a good mix. 70% tama yan. Kaya during my time, I introduced feed-in tariff. Before I came in, wala kang marinig na wind. Sa Ilocos lang. Ngayon, sa Nabas, sa Pililya, sa Boracay, meron ng wind. Wala kang marinig na solar. Ngayon, kahit saan ka pumunta, nag-aagawan sa solar. Ibig sabihin, ang kailangan lang gawin natin dito is labanan ang 70%. Hindi ibig sabihin, papatayin natin ang mga planta, kung hindi, dagdagan ang renewable to have a good mix. In the recent APEC meeting, hindi na ako secretary, I was surprised, I wasn't there, that Philippines is the second cleanest when it comes to energy. Kasi yung ibang bansa, 80% coal, 85% coal. 70% is actually alarming. It is 42 now. By the time matapos yung ibang planta, 70% if we don't do anything about it. Kaya nga, inintroduce ko ang renewable sangkatutak. And despite the fact na may renewable, bumaba pa rin ang presyo ng kuryente. Bakit? Sa ibang reforma, transparency naman. So the trick here again is not to be biased with one resource. The trick here is, what is the proper mix? At ang proper mix, hindi pwedeng desisyonan ng isang tao. I feel that the mix, just like in any other country, para wala nang labanan sa Supreme Court, should be decided by Senate and Congress. It is something parang, ano yan, ang coal plant parang misis ko. You cannot live with them totally, you cannot live without them. We simply have to have a good mix.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break now, and then we're going to take questions from the audience here at AMA. This is hashtag the leader I want. Use that hashtag when posting your reactions and questions on social media. Vote. It's been a very fascinating discussion among the candidates. Tell us what you think and vote how you feel. Choose the winner in each round. We'll be right back for the audience questions at AMA. Stay with us. Hello and welcome. We are back live from AMA University in Quezon City. You are watching hashtag the leader I want. This is the final part of the senatorial debates. It's put together with Globe, 7-Eleven, DZRH Manila Broadcasting Corporation, which is live right now, Media ng Bayan, PTV4, and its partner, The Standard. Now, in this portion, the last portion of this, we are going to the students at AMA. So you know that 49% of the registered voters are actually between the ages of 18 and 34. 49%. So let's go to the first person. They will have 1 minute to ask a question to whichever candidate they want. The candidate will have 1:30 to actually respond. Oh, let me remind you, if you're watching on cell phones, on mobile, you can actually go to rappler.com/phvote debates, and our editors will summarize everything and give you context. Here we go. Go ahead. Tell us your name, your question.
Hello, I am JR. My question is regarding the EPIRA law. and to Senator Petilla. If you mentioned that regarding this law, it is complicated and it has to be talked about, and it's complicated and it has to be talked about. Are you implying that these people that we already have in our government cannot even gather a team to explain what's going on with the law? They can't even fix it. They can't even get it through the machineries of our own government.
Fantastic. Secretary Petilla.
That's addressed to me.
For-
No. I explained the concept of Corriente 101 to my wife when I first became a secretary. After explaining to her carefully, because she was complaining about the high electricity bill, she actually said, bakit ganito maraming tanong? But in the end, she refused to understand because it is easier to complain. And I think the attitude of the people when you start talking about technical, because we do have forums, we invite students also, but in the end, okay, nawawala ng interest because they're actually lost in the web of so many technical matters that goes into the IPIRA. So you see, the IPIRA law is just one part. The implementation is another part. Pag pinagsabay mo yung dalawa, talagang mahihilo ka nito. So it's not na nagkukulang ang gobyerno. We have forums almost every month. Pero ang nangyayari, wala masyadong nag-a-attend. We try to entice them, even going to school. But it's just complex. That's what that word's saying.
Okay. 18 seconds left on the clock. Let's go to the next question. Your name, and you have a minute to ask.
I'm Wilson Yu. So I'm addressing it to all candidates. Alam po natin na yung root ng patronage politics o yung pork barrel politics ay yung kahirapan. Ang kahirapan po ay bunga ng wala po tayong pangkabuhayan or economic development or national development program. Na ang sanhi po ay kakulangan ng infrastruktura, it's either material or human infrastructure. Yun nga yung pag-aaral. So itatanong ko po sa mga kandidato, ano po yung roadmap na policy ninyo para dun sa ating national industrialization to expand our industry? Kasi madaming mga estudyante dito mag-graduate. Kung wala pong industriya na paglalagyan sa kanila, ang mangyayari po underemployed or unemployed. So just simple policy on that question.
Okay, great. Who wants to take it?
Alam mo, ang problema sa bayan natin, kanya tayo hindi umunlad ay tatlo. Trabaho, trabaho, trabaho. Yun ang problema sa bayan natin. Bakit wala tayong trabaho? Sapagkat kulang po tayo ng batas. Kulang tayo ng batas na mag-attract ng mga investments dito sa Pilipinas. We must have legislation that will encourage our local businessmen to invest here and even multinational companies to invest here. We must industrialize. We must have factories. We must create jobs that will solve the unemployment problem, that will solve the issue of poverty, that will bring back the OFWs to this country. Trabaho, trabaho, trabaho. At hindi lang trabaho, kailangan rin natin tanggalin yung contractualization na yan. Sapagkat dahil sa contractualization, hindi po nasusolusyonan ang problema ng kahirapan. May trabaho nga, dinadaya pa ang mga empleyado natin. Forever ng contractual ang mga empleyado natin. So, how do we solve the problem of poverty in this country? Create jobs, have legislation that will create factories and manufacturing.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move to your name and your question.
Okay. I'm Jaizan Carlene C. Franco, and my question is for Mr. Padilla. Okay. Is it still possible to use the nuclear power plant in Bataan? You said a while ago that it takes 5 years to create new power plants for electricity. Why not use already working ones or new one or old ones that aren't used? And as you said a while ago, it only costs like $250, right? And if you were scared about the security of the power plant, it is also said that it is 10 times more safer than Japan's. So why are you fearing why are you fearing explosion or anything?
First of all, I don't know where you got the notion that I'm afraid to actually activate Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Let's talk economics, okay? Pag pinaandar ko ang Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, magkano ang gusto niyong presyo? Magkano ibababa? Yun ang tanong. Kinumpute ko na yan. Kung 11.50 ang binabayaran dati, ang iba gusto 2 piso, 3 piso na lang. Pero actually, pag pinaandar ang Bataan Nuclear Power Plant sa Meralco, ang babayaran mo bababa ng 30 centavos lang. Bakit 30 centavos? Maliit lang na planta yan. Eh kung gusto mo 2 piso, damihan natin ang nuclear power plant. Siguro mga 6. Kung dadamihan natin, it is no longer a Bataan nuclear power plant policy. The question is, do we go nuclear? Pag ang tanong is nuclear, hindi dapat ang isang tao ang magdidesisyon. Bakit? Pag pinaandar yan, may Supreme Court kaagad na maghahabla para pigilan yan. So anong gagawin dito? If we want to go nuclear, I think it should be put in a referendum. We should have a law para kung meron na tayong batas, wala nang kukontra. But in the meantime, nakatenga yan ngayon, but it can run actually if we spend another $500 million. That's still cheap. That's still cheap. But the decision to go nuclear should be the decision of all, not the decision of one person.
Thank you. Your name and your question.
I'm Trapper Rahis. This is for Attorney Lorna Kapunan. Ano po ang inyong opinion sa Kidapawan Massacre? And as a senator, may voice po ba kayo para tulungan ang mga naging biktima?
Alam niyo po, ang programa ng isang Attorney Lorna Kapunan ay laban para sa karapatan. Karapatan po ng 60,000 farmers sa Kidapawan na nagugutom, na binarel ang peaceful assembly. The right to peaceful assembly to redress your grievances is protected by the Constitution. So nung nagrally po yung mga nagugutom ng farmers, bakit naman ang kapalit ay hindi pagkain, ang kapalit ay bala? Number 2, hanggang ngayon, ang administrasyon ay hindi pa nagbibigay ng pagkain doon. Ang sagot ng administrasyon, tapusin muna natin ang investigasyon na yan. Administration wants to know, or the people who are the people responsible for the massacre. That is not the answer to hunger. And Kidapawan incident will happen again and again and again. Why? Because this government has not addressed the issue of climate change and climate justice. Climate change is not about recycling garbage. Climate change is being able to answer the problem of drought. A national irrigation system will answer the problem of drought. Kidapawan will happen again in drought-infested countries because the farmers who are the ones who feed us are now the ones going hungry.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask who has a question for Greco Belgica? Anyone? Question? Okay, please, your name and your question.
This is for Sir Greco Belgica. When do you think on your tenure as a senator can provide a better education, especially the far-reach and rural poor area in our country on which until now only NGOs has the compassion? And how can you help to stop private schools and universities making their industry sector as business-oriented entity?
You have to say it a little bit louder.
Ah?
You have to say it a little bit louder, please.
Okay, sorry. When do you think on your tenure as a senator can provide a better education, especially the far-reach and rural poor area in our country on which until now only NGOs has the compassion? And how can you help to stop private schools and universities making their industry sector as business-oriented entity?
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, if I become senator, I will push for the conversion of the 25 billion peso PDAF na dating inaabuso ng mga congressman at senator, to tuition voucher fund, to become tuition fee voucher funds for all students for any schools. Meaning, from elementary to college, you can go to any school you want. You want to go to San Beda, where I went, to Ateneo, to Lasal, bahala ka, to AMA if you want, meron kang voucher. Ang effect po niyan is that you will get the best education at the least cost, rather than having free education with no quality. Walang libro, walang teacher, walang classroom, pero libreng bulok. I will do that in the first 3 months of my tenure as senator, and I will bring it back to you. Ang pondo nandyan na po, it's just a matter of conversion. Now, with the tuition fee vouchers, ang mga schools din po will now begin to compete for the voucher in your hand. So magpapababaan po ng presyo yan habang magpapagandahan po ng program na i-deliver to convince the students to come to their school. And that is the best education we can provide for our students here in the Philippines.
Thank you. A question for Levi Baligot. Who has a question for Levi Baligot? Go ahead. Your name and your question.
I'm JM. This question is to Sir Levido Baligot. If voted senator in our country, what kind of law are you going to sponsor or pass in order to remove the current standing of the Philippines as a safe haven for smugglers and money laundering gateway in the global community?
We have to strengthen the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Second, we have to include casinos to be regulated by the Anti-Money Laundering Council as well. And we can perhaps increase also the penalty for involvement in money laundering operations. You know, I have some sort of a personal knowledge dito sa nangyayaring money laundering. Alam po ninyo sa Cagayan, no? Sa CESA, taga Cagayan ako. Ang ginagawa po nila doon, they bring in casino players from Macau directly to the airport of Tuguegarao, then transport them to CESA, bringing with them cash. Hindi po sila dumadaan sa customs, hindi sila dumadaan sa immigration. At sila lang doon yung naglalaro. Pagkatapos po, sasabihin nila, yung perang dala-dala nila ay pinanalunan nila sa casino. No? So, kailangan i-involve natin, i-cover natin ang casinos, patatagin natin ang ating mga batas, at yung pagpayag ng immigration at customs sa kanila, it is a form of corruption. No?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. We have time for 2 more questions.
My name is Aldrin Benavides po. Para po sa lahat ng candidate po, kung kayo po ay nanalo bilang senator, paano nyo po ito mailalatag ang mga batas na naisip nyo para mas maisaayos ang bansa natin kung magiging presidente ay hindi nyo kaalyado?
An interesting question. Can all 4 of you answer it, but in less than 30 seconds each? Pwede ba?
Pwede po.
Let's start with Levi first.
Well, we can constructively work with any president, no? As long as we agree on certain platforms. Sa akin po, I want to advocate for a legislated 50-year development program that regardless of who is elected as president, hindi niya mababago. That is the only way that we can tie resources and the attention of the bureaucracy for the fulfillment of these programs. Ang nangyayari po kasi sa atin, every year, nagbabago ang ating programa. Pero kung meron tayong long-term na programa, kagaya ng legislated 50-year development plan, magkakaroon tayo ng sustainability. No? So we can focus on education, agriculture, environmental protection, creation of livelihood opportunities, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. That's within the 30 seconds. Go ahead, Greco.
Yeah, you know, you have a point. Napakahirap magtrabaho sa isang tao na hindi naniniwala sa'yo or galit sa'yo. But there are ways to work with anyone. However, the truth must stand out and we must stand for what is right. Sa akin pong, for me, alam nyo, nung sampahan ko ang pork barrel system, wala naman akong pwesto eh. Pinagtawanan ako ng lahat ng mga tao at sinabi, sino ka ba? Pero naipanalo po natin yan, unanimous, 14-0, 3 beses, wala ho sila na nakuhang boto. Hindi pa ho ako senador noon. Subukan nyo, senador ako.
Okay, on cue. Lorna, you got 30 seconds as well.
Alam nyo, ang magaling na senador, kayang-kayang magtrabaho miski na sinong presidente man yan. Ako yun. Kailangan po maintindihan natin yung konsepto ng separation of powers. The Senate makes the laws, the executive department executes it, and the Supreme Court makes sure that both follow the rule of law. So if the senator makes the policy, regardless of who the executive is, it must be followed. And you have the Supreme Court to ensure that there is rule of law in this country. I will work with any
I'm
president.
Gonna cut you. You will. Okay. Thank you. Now we go to Secretary Padilla.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Energy or power is like music. It goes beyond politics. Ibig sabihin, kapag kuryente ang pinag-uusapan at energy, everybody is interested. Kailangan lang nilang maintindihan. Siguro wala lang nag-explain na maigi. I feel that whoever sits as a president will take energy as a priority. Hindi po pwedeng hindi niya tugunan ito ng pansin. And I'm confident pag na-explain ito, lalo na kasi wala namang budget, these are all policies. Minimal expense to the government. Just change the law. I feel that everybody will listen because energy is universal.
Fantastic. Thank you. We have time for one last question. Your name and your question.
My name is Hans from Business Administration. My question is to all of you, sir. And lahat po ng mga sinasabi nyo at adhikain nyo po, magaganda sa tenga at napakasarap pakinggan. Nandiyan po yung sa tax, nandiyan po yung sa peace and order, nandiyan po rin po yung sa energy, and sa iba't ibang klase po ng issue dito sa Pilipinas. Ang tanong ko po lang sa inyo, pabor po ba kayo sa baguhin ang ating gobyerno as a federal government? Kasi po, base po sa aking perception, personal na perception po, pag nagkaroon po tayo ng federal government at may batas sa bawat state, for example, gusto nyo pong baguhin ang kriminalidad dito sa Pilipinas at sabihin nyo na babaguhin ko to ng mas madaling panahon. Kung may federal government po tayo, sa isang state, sinabi nila na magkaroon tayo ng death penalty sa heinous crimes, gaya ng rape, murders, may certain amount ng mga money na kinukorap nila. Death penalty po dapat po ba yun? Yung ganong klase ng kaso? O ipagpapatuloy pa rin po ba natin yung gantong klaseng gobyerno na kung saan simulat sa pool pa rin po, patuloy pa rin po tayong umaasa sa mga pangako, sa mga nangangako na patuloy na pinapangakuan ang mga Pilipinong mamamayan. Yun lang po.
Okay. Why don't we do it again? Let's go through. Federalism is an interesting one. Who wants to go first? 30 seconds.
Alam niyo po, ang problema po ng bayan natin hindi form of government. Miski na sabihin mo, federalismo ang gusto mo, o democracy, or unicameral, kasi napakahirap ng bicameral form of legislature, hindi po masusursunan ang problema ng bayan natin kung hindi mo papalitan yung sistema na 38 families control 90% of the country's wealth. Miski na federalismo yan, hindi mangyayari na magkakaroon ng progreso ang bayan natin sapagkat hindi mo pinalitan yung political dynasties na yan.
Who wants to go next? Levy?
Okay. Sinasang-ayunan ko po na ang form of government is just an abstract concept that operates through the human mind and even through the human heart. If you have leaders like we have now, na nabubuhay sa buwis ng bayan, magkakaproblema tayo, no? Parang ihambing natin sa isang sasakyan yan. kahit bago ang sasakyan mo, hindi ka makakarating sa patutunguhan mo kung yung driver ay loko-loko o tarantado. Pero kung maganda lang, katamtaman lang ang sasakyan mo, matino naman ang driver mo, makakarating ka sa paroroonan mo.
Salamat po. Greco.
You know, I have studied the budget extensively for the last 3 years after I filed my petitions in court. You know, 70% of the budget goes to the national government when 90% of the problem is with the local government na pinaghahati-hatian ng 1,600 cities and municipalities. Kaya mahirap maggumawa ng mga aksyon ng local government dahil walang resources. Hawak-hawak lahat ng mga senador at presidente. The federal form of government will address the problem more, faster and better. Kaya taas ang kamao sa gusto ng pagbabago.
Ikot.
I've been a governor for 9 years sa probinsya ko. Etong revelation ko, kahit gaano ka kagaling na gobernador, kung lahat ng pondo nang gagaling sa Maynila at ang budget mo dependent sa land area at saka sa population, ang gagawin mo para tumas ang revenue mo, manganak ka ng manganak at mag-border dispute ka. Pero kung meron tayong federalism or a form of federalism, kasi iba-ibang klase naman, na kung saan ang galing ng isang local government will bring your province or your region to the next level, then merong motivation. So to some extent, I am for it. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are nearly at the end of the debate. Candidates, we go back to you. 1:30, your last words. And let's start with Attorney Levy Baligot.
Wala pa,
Sorry, you have 1.5 minutes. And let's start the clock. Go ahead.
wala pa po ako sa gobyerno ay nakapagpakita na ako ng kakayanan na labanan ang korupsyon. Nakapagpakulong tayo ng ilang senador, na ipakulong natin ang tinatawag na PDAF scam queen, at naipakulong din natin ang ilang mga congressmen. Pero kung nasa loob ako ng gobyerno, sinisigurado ko po na mas marami akong magagawa. Ang gusto ko pong ipagpatuloy sa ating gobyerno ay yung matanggal na ang oportunidad para makapagnakaw ang ating mga opisyal. Ang oportunidad po kasi na ito ay binibigay ng pork barrel system. At alam nyo po ba na noong nakaraang taon, ang pork barrel fund ay 1.6 trillion? Wala po tayong naramdaman dyan. Ang 1.6 trillion ay marami na sanang magagawa. Kung ililibre natin ang edukasyon sa public sector, public schools mula grade 1 hanggang 4th year college, kailangan lang natin ang karagdagang 120 billion pesos. Wala pa sa 10% ng pork barrel fund. Kung gagawin po nating libre ang serbisyo sa government hospitals mula 4th level hanggang 1st level hospital, kailangan lang natin ang 418 billion pesos na karagdagan. Kung bibigyan po natin ng 50 mil ang bawat magsasakang pamilya, 30 billion lamang po yan. Kung bibigyan natin ng 10,000 ang bawat senior citizen, 70 billion lamang po yan. Isuma total po nyo yan, wala pa po 1 trillion, 1.6 trillion ang pork barrel fund last year. Salamat po.
Thank you very much. Pastor.
Magandang hapon po. Ako po si Greco Belhica, ang nagpatanggal ng pork barrel at DAP sa Supreme Court. Kung ako po ay magiging senador, ang unang-una kong gagawin, papalitan natin at paiimbestigahan ang lahat na nag-abuso sa pork barrel at DAP na pinag-utos ng Korte Suprema sa Belhica case. Ikalawa, ibababa natin at isi-simplify natin ang buwis, 10% flat rate tax. Aalisin natin ang IVAT, amilyar, ang interest tax, lahat ng tax aalisin natin maliban on a flat rate of 10% para ang pera hawak ng tao, hindi ng gobyerno. Pangatlo, yung 25 billion pesos na PDAF, i-convert natin sa tuition fee voucher fund para sa lahat ng estudyante sa kahit anong eskwelahan na gusto nilang pag-aralan. At ikaapat, aalisin natin ang amilyar sa lupa, subalit ang lahat ng public land sa nakatiwangwang, hahayaan natin pakinabangan ng mga taong gustong magtanim, bibigyan natin ng training aggregate sa suporta para ang tao hindi itinatawid sa hirap, kundi naaahon sa hirap. Ikaapat, sobra na po ang kriminalidad sa bating bayan. Pag ako po naging senador, ipaglalaban kong ibalik ang parusang kamatayan sa karumaldumal na krimen. Huwag niyo pong iboboto ang mga bibili ng boto dahil ang mga partido magbibilihan ng boto. Dahil ang bibili ng boto magnanakaw sa gobyerno.
Thank you. Attorney Lorna Capunan.
Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat na nakikinig sa plataforma ng mga kandidato. Inuulit ko po, kung gusto nyo nagpagbabago, maghalal ng bago. Ang isang Lorna Capunan po, hindi po politiko, hindi po incumbent, hindi po artista, hindi po buksingero. Ang binibigay po natin sa mga mamamayan, lalo na sa inyo, ang kabataan ay isang agenda ng hope. Honest government, health. Letter H, O, opportunities for all, kababaihan, kalalakihan, kabataan, OFW, senior citizens, artists, inventors. Lahat po yan. And LGBT community. Yung ating pong P is for peace in Mindanao, is for peace in the whole country, is for poverty. Let us fight the poverty issue through E, which is education, which is employment, and which is concern for the environment. I present to you a ticket of hope. Huwag po tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa. Kung nabibwisit kayo, mas mabwisit kayo kung ang mga mananalo ay mga tanga at walang alam at magnanakaw. Wag sana mangyari yan sa May 16, May 2016, iboto niyo ko. Naubos na.
Thank you. And finally, Ikot Petilla.
Maraming salamat po. Pag bumoto ng presidente, issue tinitingnan. Pag bumoto ng vice president, issue ulit tinitingnan. Pero pag bumoboto ng senador, name recall at kung sinong sikat. Pero kung ang kapatid ninyo ay nirape ng isang 15 years old at bawal makulong dahil meron tayong batas na bawal makulong, ang minumura nyo, gobyerno. Kung mahal ang gasolina ninyo kasi may dagdag na bioethanol, minumura nyo, gobyerno. Pag mahal ang kuryente, inaaway nyo ang gobyerno. Pero ang gumawa ng mga batas na to, kayo ang bumoto dahil cute at sikat. So ang pakiusap ko sa inyo, pagdating sa panahon, iboto naman nyo ang tama. Kung hindi mananalo ang mga tama, ang gagawin ko, and I'm quite sure, ang kasamahan ko dito, kami po ang magtututor sa kanila. Walang garantiya matututo sila. Pero bakit pa kailangan kami magtutor? Bakit hindi na lang natin iboto ang tama? Because sa bandang huli, kayo rin naman lahat, tayo rin naman lahat, ang tatamaan ng mga maling batas. At tayo rin ang magmumura. So iboto po, lalo na po pagdating sa kuryente, walang ibang makikipagbakbakan dito sa inyo. Para sa inyo, number 41, Jericho, hindi Rosales, Jericho Petilla po.
Let's put up the mood meter. Can we take a look at what the mood is for the debate? How interesting. So it's still overwhelmingly happy, some amused, a big chunk of annoyed. We'll be posting what triggered these emotions on Rappler later on. There is a vote, right? Who won each round? And the voting will continue until 5:30. You can only vote once on that poll, and it will actually make sure that you're a real person with something called CAPTCHA. I'm sure you guys know that, right? When you vote, who won? They spent their time with you. They gave their ideas to you. They gave their vision to you. So think about it, and it is extremely important that we all vote on May 9th. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, especially to our listeners on radio over DZRH MBC and on television on Media ng Bayan PTV4. Watch our next senatorial debate at the University of Philippines next Friday, April 15th. On behalf of our other partners, Globe, 7-Eleven, and to the AMA community. Ama, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Let's give a particularly rousing round of applause to our candidates for senator and wish them luck. Thank you very much and good day. Bye-bye.